The hero wakes up every morning with one goal: win. They don't just want success, they need it, preferably with a dramatic soundtrack playing in the background. They see life as a battle, and they're the main character, fighting against laziness, mediocrity, and anyone who doubts them. Their biggest desire? Proving their worth. They need challenges, goals, and obstacles to overcome. If life is too easy, they'll make it harder just to feel alive. Their worst fear? Failure. Nothing terrifies them more than looking weak, incompetent, or, God forbid, losing. You'll recognize them because they're the ones at the gym at 5 a.m., posting motivational quotes about grinding while you sleep. They treat everything like a competition: work, dating, even casual game nights. If you ever beat them at something, they'll say, best 2 out of 3. At their best, they're inspiring, disciplined, and actually get things done. At their worst, they're exhausting. They'll push themselves into burnout, drag others into unnecessary battles, and turn a friendly dinner into a debate about who would survive a zombie apocalypse. The Jester. The Jester's main mission in life? Don't take things too seriously, and maybe get you to lighten up while they're at it. They're the class clown, the office smartass, the friend who shows up to your serious dinner in a costume just to mess with you. They don't do it for attention. Oh, okay, sometimes. But mostly, they just think life is too short to be boring. They're sharp, quick-witted, and know exactly how to cut tension with one perfectly timed one-liner. You'll find them in entertainment, marketing, comedy, or any job where personality actually matters more than a resume. Their biggest desire? To live in the moment and enjoy life. Their biggest fear? Being irrelevant, or stuck in a world that takes itself too seriously. You force them into a stuffy environment with no humor, and they'll either implode or start trolling just to stay sane. At their best, they're energizing, fun, and remind everyone not to take things too personally. At their worst, they deflect everything with jokes, avoid real emotions, and struggle to be taken seriously when it actually counts. Still, every group needs one person who can make a funeral slightly less unbearable. That's them. The Explorer. Commitment issues? No, just adventure priorities. The Explorer lives for freedom, change, and the thrill of the unknown. The second things start feeling too routine, they're already scanning Google Maps like it's a dating app. They're not trying to escape life, they're trying to find more of it. More experiences, more perspectives, more weird food from places you can't pronounce. Settling down feels like death. So does working a 9 to 5 in a beige cubicle with a break room that smells like burnt popcorn. You'll find explorers as travel bloggers, photographers, outdoor guides, digital nomads. Any job where the Wi-Fi is unstable and the views are great. If they're stuck in a traditional job, they'll either be plotting their escape or mysteriously working remotely from 3 countries over. What drives them? Discovery. What scares them? Feeling trapped. They need room to roam, physically and mentally. Structure suffocates them. Stability is fine as long as it's optional. At their best, they're bold, inspiring, and open-minded. At their worst, they're flaky, restless, and allergic to consistency. Just don't ask them where they'll see themselves in 5 years. They barely know where they'll be next week. The Caregiver. The caregiver exists for one reason: to take care of everyone else. They're the ones bringing soup when you're sick, giving you life advice you didn't ask for, and making sure nobody in the group chat feels left out. They don't just want to help, they need to, or they feel useless. Their biggest desire? To be needed. If they're not taking care of someone, they start questioning their entire existence. Their worst fear? Being seen as selfish. The idea of putting themselves first physically pains them, so they'll run themselves into the ground to make sure everyone else is okay. You'll recognize them because they're the ones who always check in, even when nobody checks in on them. They give the best advice, but never follow it. They apologize when someone bumps into them. They say, "No worries," even when they're absolutely worrying. At their best, they're kind, selfless, and make the world less of a nightmare. At their worst, they let people walk all over them and burn out trying to save others. You'll often find them as nurses, teachers, social workers, or that one friend who somehow ends up being everyone's unpaid therapist. The rebel. The rebel wasn't born to follow rules. They were born to break them, burn the handbook, and ask why in the hell there was a handbook in the first place. They see the system, and their first instinct is, let's blow it up. They're fueled by disruption. That doesn't mean they're always angry, just allergic to blind obedience. You'll find them leading protests, launching bold startups, making controversial art, or getting banned from forums for tone violations. If there's a norm, they're questioning it. If there's authority, they're challenging it. They're not in it just to be edgy. Rebels are often reacting to real injustice, real frustration. Their biggest desire? Revolution. Not necessarily with pitchforks, but they want to tear down what they think is broken and replace it with something better. Or at least that's how they see it. Biggest fear? Powerlessness. Nothing makes a rebel unravel faster than feeling like they're being controlled, silenced, or ignored. They'd rather fail on their own terms than succeed while following someone else's rules. At their best, they're bold, brave, and necessary. At their worst, they're reckless, self-destructive, or stuck in a permanent phase of nobody gets me. But whether they're right or wrong, you'll damn sure hear them. The Everyman. The Everyman just wants to blend in, get along, and not cause any trouble. They're not here to be the hero, the villain, or even the comic relief. They just want to exist in peace, preferably with a stable job and a reliable sedan. Their biggest desire? Belonging. They want to be accepted, feel included, and not stand out too much. Their worst fear? Rejection. They don't want to be left out, looked down on, or seen as different. These are the people who say, I just go with the flow, but the flow is usually just whatever the majority is doing. You'll recognize them because they're the ones nodding along in meetings without actually saying anything. They watch whatever's trending, wear whatever's safe, and will never, under any circumstances, send food back at a restaurant. Their conflict resolution strategy? Awkward laughter and changing the subject. At their best, they're dependable, relatable, and keep things running smoothly. At their worst, they have zero opinions of their own and will side with whoever is loudest. They're not here to make history. They just want a cold beer, a decent paycheck, and not get yelled at. The Sage. Ask a sage a simple question and you're getting a TED Talk. Not because they're trying to show off, they just actually know things. This is the person who reads obscure philosophy books for fun, corrects documentaries mid-play, and casually references ancient civilizations in small talk. Sages aren't driven by fame or fortune. They want truth. Understanding how the world works is their version of adrenaline. They're the human version of a Wikipedia rabbit hole, minus the weird editing wars. You'll find them as professors, analysts, researchers, advisors, any role where they can think deeply and not be interrupted by team-building exercises. Group brainstorming? Nightmare fuel. They'd rather sit alone, surrounded by 5 open tabs and a cup of black coffee that's been microwaved 3 times. Their biggest desire? Knowledge. Their biggest fear? Ignorance, especially their own. They don't need to be the smartest in the room, but they'll definitely fact-check the one who thinks they are. At their best, they're insightful, wise, and make you think deeper. At their worst, they're detached, condescending, and incapable of just letting you enjoy a dumb action movie without pointing out plot holes. The Lover. The Lover is all about connection, not surface-level small talk. They want the real stuff. They get attached fast, feel things deeply, and if they care about you, you'll know it. They're the type who remembers your favorite drink, your weird childhood fear, and that one random thing you said a year ago. You'll find them in roles where emotions matter. Actors, writers, designers, therapists, or just that one friend who makes every hangout feel like a therapy session with candles. What they want more than anything? To feel close to someone or something. Doesn't have to be romantic. They can fall just as hard for a song, a city, or a hobby. What they hate? feeling ignored. If they sense they don't matter to you, they'll spiral, quietly or dramatically depending on the day. At their best, they make you feel seen. They're loyal, expressive, and fully present. At their worst, they get needy, lose themselves in other people, and base their worth on whether someone texts back. They don't just want love. They want all of it. The highs, the lows, the late-night conversations, and yes, the matching Spotify playlists. The Magician. The Magician isn't loud, flashy, or trying to be the center of attention, but somehow they always end up being the one everyone quietly listens to. They've got this weird ability to walk into chaos, say 3 things, and suddenly the room feels like there's a plan again. They're obsessed with how things work. Systems, people, outcomes. Not in a nerdy spreadsheet way, but in a how can I take this mess and make something great out of it way. You'll find them behind the scenes in tech, branding, psychology, high-level strategy. They're not running around screaming, "I'm a visionary." They're just out here being one. Their goal? Change. Not small tweaks, real deep transformation. They like turning problems into breakthroughs. Their fear? Being tricked or misled. The Magician needs to feel like they see through the illusion, not the other way around. At their best, they're game changers. At their worst, they're manipulative as hell. Because once you understand how people and systems work, it's a short hop from "I can fix this" to "I can control this." The Innocent. The innocent is that person who genuinely believes the world is a nice place. People are fundamentally good, and bad things are just a misunderstanding. They walk around with a childlike optimism, assuming if they're nice to others, everything will work out. Think of that coworker who still believes HR is on their side. Their biggest desire? Safety. They want a world where things are predictable, kind, and fair. Their worst fear? Corruption and betrayal. The moment they realize life isn't a Disney movie, they either double down on denial or have a complete existential crisis. You'll recognize them because they're the ones posting motivational quotes with stock images of beaches. They avoid conflict like it's a disease. And their go-to response to chaos is, "Let's all just get along." They trust authority, follow the rules, and think if you're struggling, you just need to stay positive. At best, they'll bring warmth and hope. At worst, they're so naive they get scammed into buying NFTs of cartoon ducks. They mean well, but put them in charge and they'll get eaten alive. The Ruler. The ruler is that person who has to be in charge. Not because they're power hungry, okay, maybe a little, but because deep down they genuinely believe things fall apart without them. And honestly, sometimes they're right. They can't stand chaos. Unclear plans, vague instructions, flaky people, it all makes their skin crawl. So instead of waiting for someone else to step up, they just take the wheel. Whether it's running a business, planning a vacation, or organizing a friend's wedding because no one else was doing it right, they become the leader. They want things done properly, efficiently, and preferably their way. What they crave is stability, structure, control. What they can't stand? Feeling powerless, or worse, having to depend on someone who doesn't know what they're doing. At their best, they bring direction. They get shit done, and people trust them. At their worst, they turn into control freaks, barking orders over stuff that really doesn't matter. You might love them or hate them, but if you're on their team, you're going to be on a schedule. They don't ask, who's in charge? They just start acting like it, and everyone else eventually goes along. The Creator. The Creator is that person who can't not make stuff. Their brain's always running, coming up with ideas, fixing things that aren't broken, or imagining how something could have been done way cooler. They look at the world and think, I could have made a better version. They're the ones sketching during meetings, rewriting movie endings in their head, or building some weird side project nobody asked for, but it's kinda genius. If they had unlimited time and money, they wouldn't retire. They just make all the crazy stuff they've been thinking about. Their motto, if it can be imagined, it can be created. They usually end up in creative fields: writing, art, design, architecture, film, startups. Anywhere they don't feel boxed in. If they're stuck in a regular job, they're either quietly dying or spending company time working on their passion project. What do they want? To make something real that actually means something. What freaks them out? Being basic. If you tell them their idea isn't original, congrats, you've ruined their week. At their best, they bring fresh ideas to the table. At their worst, they overthink everything and never finish. But when they do finish, it's usually pretty damn cool. By the way, I've started a second channel. Check out the video on the screen. I promise it'll make you laugh at least a little. Thanks.